Something that saved my life when I was 15. So I was diagnosed with colitis when I was quite young, which is an incurable autoimmune disease. And part of that was there was just a lot of pain and obviously like symptoms, which were debilitating to say the least. And like, you know, I was going to the loo 30, 40 times a day, and it was just pure agony. And it got to a point where medicine couldn't really help me anymore. Yes, it could maybe help with the pain slightly, but that was it. And so I kind of had to explore different ways of dealing with the mind and body.
Yeah.
So for me, it actually started in hospital. I was just laying there, and a nurse basically asked me to imagine a few things, rather like not being in hospital. And that's when I started learning how to train the mind and how to change kind of our perspectives, how we frame things, but also create new patterns in our brain. So yeah, it helped me with my pain. It helped me to walk again. I wouldn't be sitting on this seat without it. And so when I was at uni, I made the choice to create a business for it, because I was like, you know, if more people can learn it, it can help anyone. It doesn't have to save their life, but I'm sure it can help them in their everyday. And it's doing that, which is amazing. So yeah, really excited about it.
This sounds like some sort of a hack where I've never heard that before. That's sort of like you're on the, you know, you're going through so much pain and suffering both mentally and physically. You made a change and you recovered from that. I guess, like, what were you actually doing?
Yeah, I think this is really interesting, because one thing I will say is mental fitness is not a magic pill. I think a lot of us are looking for quick ways to get better or to feel better. You know, just taking that pill and just make everything go away. It took discipline. It really took discipline. It was a long journey. Like, I'm talking about like a 6-7 year journey.
Yeah.
But I think you use the term hack, and I genuinely do believe that, because a lot of the things we know about our brain is just not enough. You know, it's not enough. And actually, so one of the biggest hacks, in my opinion, is that your mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Now, that is something that if you actually think about, you can manipulate your brain, you can use it to a new advantage. And so when I was in hospital, and for a long time I hadn't walked or I was in extreme pain, I would show my mind a different scenario. I would show my mind that I was waking up not in pain and able to walk. And through repetition and through so much detail, your mind starts to imagine, actually, no, this is actually happening. And this isn't just me, right? Like, they use visualization and this science with stroke victims. So stroke victims who have actually lost their, you know, ability to move half their body or things like that, they will use this technique to basically train their mind to show them, actually, no, this is possible. And that's how they, you know, learn to recover. They do it with, you know, like army veterans who have PTSD. They have this one idea of what happened. How can you show your mind that you can be in a different situation? So it's fascinating. Like, they use it in medicine, they use it in sport. So why can't each of us use it for our lives?
That sounds so profound, though. Because my thought process is like, and I know a lot of people believe this as well, it's like the mind and the body completely separate things. Like, you can have, obviously the mind has some control over the body, but if you can't walk, you can't walk, right? It doesn't have that much power over the body. What you're saying is that you couldn't walk, you did visualization and all those different exercises that you just said, and you were able to walk from that. Yeah.
So you probably know Descartes. He's obviously a very famous philosopher. He famously said, "I think, therefore I am." And our whole medical system is based on this idea that the mind and body are separate. So when you go to the doctor and you're like, I've got a heart problem, they will only look at your heart. But we're so much more of a holistic whole body thing than, you know, just a particular thing. And so one thing I really believe is that, you know, we go to school, we learn Spanish, we learn French, we learn German, but we never ever learn the language between the mind and the body. And it's the most important language anyone can learn, because mine is different from yours. And we have to learn it in order to know how can we work with our body? How can we be in the best mental and physical shape possible? And the cool thing is what you do in your mind directly impacts the cells in your body. The way you speak, the way you think, your thoughts, your actions, all of it will influence your body. And I don't take that lightly. Like even the words we say, and I really watch like myself talk, or how I talk about other people, how I think about my own successes, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It all makes a difference, all of it. And it's important to realize in a good and bad way. So if you are constantly saying, oh my God, I get the flu all the time, or I'm really unwell, you will stay like that. I think one of the easiest examples is, I'm super tired today. Everyone says it, and you probably say it like 10 times a day.
Yeah.
And of course, your body's gonna be like, cool, she's really tired today, let's make her more tired. That's how it works. Whereas if you say, yeah, didn't have a great sleep, but feeling okay, and I'm gonna do something to get my energy back, your body will react in the same way.
Yeah.
Your cells are so linked to your mind, so linked. And this might also put it in perspective. So one of the visualizations I did for the colitis specifically was a cellular one. So I would go into my colon, I would see it in my mind, I would look at the cells, and I would, because at that point I knew they were very inflamed, so I would imagine my cells very red. And I would go in and I would change them to white.
And this is just like visualizing in your brain.
All in the mind. Because remember, it doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So by me seeing that my cells were changing into these white blobs that were really happy, my cells are listening. And I know this might sound a bit weird, but like, why am I standing here then? Why did it work? And even I was like, okay, I must be like crazy here. But there's a great scientist called David Hamilton. And he is a Scottish PhD professor, and he does an amazing job of showing how this very cellular visualization can help with things like IBS, chronic fatigue, MS, even IBD. And so I knew that actually there was some serious science behind this. And I work with a cancer patient at the moment where she's great. She brings in soldiers to her cells and just kills them all. And I'm like, cool, let's do it even more, because if you can manipulate your brain in that way, let's do it.
Yeah. What do you think when people are like, oh, that like, there's a difference between like, say, wishful thinking. And that sounds like wishful thinking. It doesn't sound like it's actual concrete way to solve some sort of a problem that you have with your body. But what you're saying is the complete opposite, right? So for people who are kind of like doubting, like, what do you think? What do you say to that?
I think two things. One, this is based on neuroscience, and actually it's only in the last 10 years that neuroscientists have actually seen what is possible. Tara Swart is an amazing neuroscientist, and she's written a book called The Source, and it literally shows you in there how you can do things like this. But the other thing I would say is it's not so much about what you do. I think it's more about what you believe. Like, belief has a way bigger role to play in how we live our lives than people realize. And those beliefs that we have, generally we're not that conscious of. So they come from, when we're young, teachers, family. I was ingrained with a lot of beliefs as a South Asian woman, like of what I can and can't do. Doctors as well, like Maya, you will always be sick. It was a belief immediately. So those beliefs are so important, and we can shape them. And I think that's one of the most empowering things, which is why training the mind is like a superpower. It's like the sexiest thing you can do.